You know what fascinates me? Most IT projects fail, and it's almost never the technology. It's the people. Nobody knows who's supposed to do what. We're going to fix that right now. I'm going to be breaking down the 7 key players on any IT project. 7. Each one has a job, a specific job. When you get this right, everything changes. Your project stops being a mess and starts being something you can actually manage. That's the difference between success and becoming next year's cautionary tale. So let's get into it. First up is the sponsor. The sponsor is the person with the keys to the kingdom. They are the primary stakeholder. They control the budget, they authorize spending, they can deny it just as easily. What makes the sponsor important? 1. They provide the funding. No sponsor means no money, and no money means no project. 2 is that they select the project manager. They choose the conductor. 3. They are the project manager's boss. Status reports, problems, executive decisions all go to the sponsor. Now it gets interesting, right? The sponsor does more than write checks and pick managers. They ensure organizational support. When your project needs cooperation from finance, HR, legal, any department that don't report to the project manager, the sponsor opens those doors. They provide top cover. When the project manager hits a wall they can't get through, the sponsor steps in. Look, in my experience, the sponsor is both the funder and the guardian of the project at the executive level. You might think the sponsor and the customer are the same person. Well, they are not. The customer is the end user, the person or group who will actually use what you're building. The sponsor pays for it, right? The customer lives with it. Now, let me give you an example. You're building a new learning management system for a school district. The sponsor might be the school board president or a government official who controls the budget. They care about the costs, timelines, strategic alignment, and the customer, well, those are the teachers in this case. They log into the system every day. They know whether a feature is useful or useless. They understand what actually happens inside the classroom. Now, the customer lead focuses on scope definition and user input. They make sure the project works for the people who will actually be using it, not just the technically sound people, right? Not just the financially viable, actually useful. I mean, separate the sponsor from the customer. They have different priorities, right? Different perspectives, and both are essential. Next, we have stakeholders. This is intentionally broad. Stakeholders are everyone who is affected by or can affect the project, the full ecosystem. Now, who are the stakeholders? Department heads whose teams will use the new system, vendors who will integrate with your platform, regulatory agencies that need to approve what you're building. It could be legal teams ensuring compliance. It could be security teams, protecting data. So let's go back to our school system example. Now you've got your sponsor, which is the school board. You've got your customer, which are the teachers. Now who's your stakeholder? It's going to be the students who will experience the interface. Okay, it's going to be the IT maintenance staff who will support it. It's going to be the parents who might access it. Now each group needs to stay involved, informed, and supportive. Now why does this matter? A stakeholder you ignore in planning becomes an obstacle in execution every time. So your job is to identify these stakeholders early, understand their concerns, keep them engaged throughout the project. The moment you lose stakeholder support, you've created resistance. Now resistance creates friction. Friction slows down everything. So now we get into the linchpin. The project manager. The project manager is the authorized and accountable coordinating point for the entire effort. All right. He's authorized and accountable. They have both the responsibility and the authority to make decisions. They lead the planning. They manage the execution. They see the whole picture when everyone else is focused on their piece. Now, what makes a project manager effective? This gets misunderstood a lot. The project manager isn't a superhero who knows everything about every domain. They don't need to be the best developer, the best analyst, the best infrastructure engineer, right? They need to be the best coordinator. They need to understand dependencies. They need to communicate across teams. They identify risks before they become problems. They make sure everyone moves in the same direction at the same time towards the same goal. The thing is, the project manager doesn't build the product, right? They build the environment where the product can be built successfully. They report to the sponsor, right? They advocate for the customer. They manage the stakeholders. They lead the team. They are the hub of the wheel. All right. Next up, we have a group that's often overlooked. That's the core project team. This is a small group of leads, one for each domain, maybe for a technical lead, a business analyst lead, a QA lead, an infrastructure lead. These are basically subject matter experts. Why are they so important? Well, they help the project manager plan the project and then they stick around to implement their own plan. Now, this is worth repeating, right? They implement their own plan. The core project team isn't just consulted during planning and then just sent away, right? They are there from the beginning, providing realistic estimates based on actual domain knowledge. When the plan is approved, they don't hand it off to someone else. They execute it themselves. This creates accountability, right? This creates ownership. This creates a plan grounded in reality. The only way a project plan becomes realistic is if it's prepared by the people who actually have to implement it. Let someone else create the plan and then hand it to your technical teams. Well, if you do that, you've just created a recipe for scope creep, missed deadlines, and budget overruns. The core project team is small, focused, and embedded in both the planning and the execution, right? They are the bridge between the strategy and the execution. Finally, we have the project team. This is the full group of people who come on board once the plan is approved. Everyone who gets the work done during execution. Now notice the timing. They come on board once the plan is approved. Why? You don't need 50 people arguing about project scope in the planning phase, right? That's what the core project team is for. Once you know what you're building, how you're building it, and when it needs to be done, well, that's when you scale up. Developers, analysts, testers, designers, operation folks, everyone joins, right? The project team reports to the core team leads who report to the project manager and then who reports to the sponsor. There is a clear hierarchy that prevents, mishaps and chaos, right? This is your execution engine. They don't set strategy. They execute strategy. When you've done the planning right with the right people involved at the right time, this team can move fast. Now let's recap. The sponsor provides funding, selects the project manager, ensures organizational support, solves executive level problems. The customer is the end user who defines scope and provides input on what actually works in the real world. The stakeholders are everyone affected by or who can affect the project. You need to keep them involved, informed, and supported. The project manager is the authorized and accountable coordinator who leads planning and manages execution. The core project team is a small group of domain leads who plan the project and then implement their own plan. The project team, that's the full execution force that comes on board after planning is complete. There are 7 roles, 7 distinct responsibilities. You need to get this structure right and you create a project where everyone knows their role, everyone understands the plan, everyone works towards the same outcome. The technology is rarely a problem. The problem is always organizational, right? Unclear roles, conflicting priorities, poor communication, accountability spread so thin, it might as well not exist. If you define these 7 players, give each of them the authority and responsibility that they need, and create a structure that makes sense, that's when projects stop failing. That's not just good project management, that's how you turn chaos into order. Now, that's it for today. See you in the next video.